another sunrise, here the day comes. To another song for when tears fall down. There's nothing puts a mind at ease unless there's something within. Wonder whether you found peace in the sunrise, here the day comes.
Suddenly the truth will surface. So many people are great for justice. Look at the diners past, ripping the hell of the facts, giving the guilty a pass. Look at the face of an angel. Look at the people that Tabitha touch, bringing my city together with love. Free the pain, free your name, sing your song. Daddy's right here, never gone. People angry, secrets in the dark. Standing in this empty park, tears are falling over broken hearts. Hope this song will keep a family strong.
Your lives have changed since the day that she went away. I pray your family will find peace in some way. I know it's hard to cope. Hope feels like a broken rope. Through the darkest days, you're not alone. That's why you're hearing Tabby's song. So just
say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
How do we continue living without those we love? When the times in need, sometimes we just need a hug. Wish I had the words to say to make you feel more happy. Cause now that your world is different, there'll be no one like Tabby. That's how we feel.
Now everybody's singing Tabby's song. Light your candle, see her smile. You were not alone, you were not alone. Know your heart is aching and that time don't really heal. But your faith in God has kept you safe and always will. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring, you might see an angel when it rains. Something about this empty park just don't feel the same. When it's pouring, you might see an angel when it rains.
With you, I would miss you. It's so much harder these days than it was with you. Blow you a kiss too. Say see you later, never goodbye. Cause when the tears start flowing, Tabby's by your side.
Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes. Just sing her song. Just sing her song. Just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, just sing her song. Even when the tears start falling, even when the tears start falling, just sing her. Say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes, say her name, sing her song. Even when the tears begin to fall, Tabby's with you, never gone. Keep on praying, God won't let who did this off. Justice ain't that far away, but until that day comes.
Hello, everybody. Let's try that again. I was on mute. Welcome to True Crime with Marv. I am the advocate for Tabitha Shuck Raines and her family. Just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to LOS 105 for making that song. These are individuals who actually knew Tabitha, and that song is beautiful. Second shout out for the night. Thank you so much to Indie Archive, who created that video and that opening for our Tabitha series. We appreciate it so much. You and Jinx and Bossy and Frosty are a blessing to our team. Can't wait to work with all of you some more. Wow. All right, let's see who's here. Love Tina, how are you? Andrea's here. Mark is here. Jason. Yes, Jason. Say her name. LOS 105. One of the members right there. Frosty, nice to see you. Yeah, I was muted. It's beautiful. Absolutely love that song. All right, I'm going to bring Andrea on, my little sidekick for today. Here she is.
Just for today?
Well, every Tabby day. Every Tabby day, you're my sidekick.
Even when it's not a Tabby day, though.
Yes. Oh God, you're my rock. You are. Jason says you're so welcome. Thank you all. Means the world to us too. So thank you. Frosty says, love the trip up there. Tipton was cool, little town, and everyone was so nice. Yes. The ones that we see are very nice. I love our group.
Yeah, it was good to meet Bossy and Jinx and in the archive on Sunday.
Yeah, and you missed Frosty on Monday, but
I know.
You'll meet up with him again, I'm sure. Yes. Hey, Jinx, we were just talking about you. I just have to say that I am working on the video footage that I have for the memorial. But really gotta, like I said, thank Jinx and Bossy too, because they helped decorate Tabitha's headstone for us. And helped me decorate it, had everything ready so I could put it on there. And it was so nice to go and not have to worry about filming, that I could just be there, be in the moment. Lost it before we even got to the grave. And thank goodness Jinx was standing there, because she let me cry on her shoulder. Look, and compose myself before we went over there. So I appreciate all of your guys' help. Much love.
Did you tell Jinx and Bossy and in the archive what everybody was saying about them at the memorial dinner on Sunday?
Oh yeah.
They were like, "Who is that over there at that table?" Yeah. And I was like, "That's all YouTubers." And they're like, "Whoa, Mom's moving up in the world." You guys are nuts.
We were there to support you and support your brother Jared and the family, so absolutely.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yes, it was. So videos are coming soon. I am still downloading things onto my computer. It's crazy. Indie Archive sent me a Dropbox file full, and so it's getting there. It really is, I promise. I didn't realize I had that much stuff on my phone either, and I did. So husband's helping me get everything where it needs to be, and we'll be showing you those videos soon. But before we can even show you the videos, it's important that we finish Kyle Neff's deposition.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that we did while in Indiana was a recreation of how Andrew Bush said Tabby fell to the ground. And we did a recreation on how Kyle Neff stated they carried Tabby. So that's going to be important. Indie Archive is a godsend. All of you are. And I told Jinx that. I'm so glad to have all of you on Team Tabby. Yes. Amazing. Love his drone. I'm going to have to buy me one. I think I'm hooked.
I told Mom that Bossy was making a memorial video for Jared's thing, and she got all weepy again.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so sweet. Yeah, and that's the other thing I got to work on is the video for you guys. So, all right. Time to finish Kyle Neff's deposition. But before we do, people have been asking. So, I'm giving you the info. If I can get my screen to cooperate. All right. Back to the main screen we go. Tabitha merchandise.
We back.
We're back. Tabitha merchandise comes from two sister queens, Andrea and her sister. So there are 3 designs that are available. Please include the following when ordering. Specify which design by number, what color for your item, if you want a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, hoodie, or tumbler, forms of payment, Cash App, Facebook, debit or credit card, and what will happen is you will place your order, Andrea will make it, she will put it in the box or the bag, and then she will weigh it and send you an invoice that includes the shipping.
Yeah, because we don't want to overcharge anybody on shipping.
Right. So prices are as follows. Now remember, there's a $5 from each item comes to True Crime with Marv, and $5 of each item goes to Mark for the legal fund. T-shirts. Here's the prices. I will be posting, this is already in the Tabitha, Justice for Tabitha Facebook group. I will also be posting this on the community page. So, t-shirts, small to extra large, $25. 2XL and up is $28. Long sleeve t-shirt, small to extra large is $30. 2XL and up is $33. Hoodies, small to extra large is $35. 2XL is $40. 3XL is $43. And 4XL and up is $45. Tumblers are $30 a piece. Now, here is your option. If you were at the vigil, you saw a lot of us in the Justice for Tabitha in the black shirt, same shirt in a blue, and then we have pink or pink, purple. There we go. Justice for Tabitha shirt. We have this one in gray. And then we have the tumbler with her picture on it.
You should be able just to scroll.
Oh, there we go. These tumblers are awesome.
They're 20-ounce tumblers.
They keep your drinks
Hot and
cold.
cold.
And then we also have one in black, which is gorgeous. So that is your merchandise for Tabitha. Andrea, what is your email address?
twosisterqueens@yahoo.com.
So I put it in the comments. But like I said, I'll be putting this on the community page, and it's already in the Justice for Tabitha Facebook group.
There's actually on the Facebook post, there's actually a send message button.
Yep.
And they can hit that as well.
Correct. And just so you can see these in the bigger format. There we go. So that is the merch for Tabitha. Let's see here. Welcome, Louise. You popped in while we were doing merch. Thank you for being here. Okay, guys. We've got at least an hour, if not more, to go to finish this deposition. We are on page 153. And there are
266.
266. Good golly, Miss Molly.
But they go pretty quick.
Yes. What did I say? What page were we on? 253?
153.
153. Oh, goodness golly. Got to get back to my spot. I'm too scroll happy. Okay.
Jinx said the shirts look great.
Oh, thank you. All right. As before, Andrea's going to read the questions from the lawyers, and I am going to read Kyle Neff's responses.
We're starting at the top of 153, right?
Yes.
Are you ready?
I am in a minute.
Okay. You tell me when.
Okay. I'm ready now.
Did you not just have a conversation with, tell me you had a conversation with Liz Balser a month after this incident took place?
Yeah, I did.
Which would have been 3 weeks after you talked to your attorney.
Yeah.
So your attorney told you not to discuss it with anybody, but you did anyway. Is that what you're saying now?
I guess, yeah.
Well, okay. All right. Now, after other than that conversation that you're saying you had with Liz at this point in time, you had no other conversations with John Yates or Liz Balser ever regarding this offense. Is that right?
Right.
Or Drew Bush. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
Now, the police then began to question you about what happened. Did you talk to Gary Stout?
Yes.
And what questions did he ask you in regard to your whereabouts?
He questioned me Friday night or Friday morning.
Friday morning?
I believe that's when he questioned me. Me and Amanda and Skylar went up there and asked about our whereabouts. If we've seen her, heard from her.
And where did you say you were to him?
What do you mean?
Gary Stout asked about your whereabouts.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you said he asked you about?
Yes.
What did you say to him
I told
in response to that question?
something I told Amanda. I was cruising around the country in Hamilton County and Tipton County, Howard County.
Did he take a taped statement from you?
No, he didn't. He was just asking me about who Tabitha's friends were and stuff like that, and what drugs she's done in the past. And
Were you able to give him one person that you were with after 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October the 2nd? When you say you were cruising around, did you give him names of people you were with?
I don't remember what names I gave him. I told him about people she's hung out with in the past.
Okay, maybe you misunderstood the question. You talked to Gary Stout,
Yeah,
and he asked you your whereabouts.
yeah,
And you told him you were riding around in the country. Is that correct?
uh-huh.
Did you give him any names of any individuals who could verify?
Not specific names, no.
Did he ever try to question you after that?
No, because I told him if he had any more questions for me to contact Stephanie.
And do you know if he ever did contact Stephanie to see if you could come in and give another statement?
I don't know.
Did she ever contact you and tell you that she'd been in contact by Gary Stout?
I think she said she contacted Gary Stout or the prosecutor asking about it after I talked to her.
I'm sorry, say again?
I believe that she contacted Gary Stout or the prosecutor. I don't remember who. After I talked to her about it right away.
Okay.
I don't know for a fact. I think I remember her saying that.
Did she tell you what she'd said to him?
She probably did, but I don't remember.
Now, eventually, then you were arrested in this case, and you didn't give any statements for a long time. Is that right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, there was a proposal to you for a deal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what's your first knowledge about any plea offer that was made to you?
When I asked Stephanie about it in August, I think, it was either the end of July, beginning of August.
When you say you asked her about it, tell me what you mean by that.
Yes, I asked her if they were still offering a plea.
Still offering a plea?
Yes.
What was the first plea they offered you?
Right when we got arrested, Gary Stout said that he'd release us right then if we talked.
Now, did he tell you that?
Yes.
Tell me the way that conversation took place.
Right when I got arrested, he called me up to his office for questioning and said...
Didn't you have an attorney at that time?
Yes, she wasn't there.
She wasn't there?
No, I just got arrested.
You just got arrested.
This was the night I got arrested.
And you said that your attorney had already called him or the prosecutor and...
Prior to that, I think so.
You don't know if she told them that, not to talk to you or anything like that?
I believe she did without her present.
All right. So you got arrested were you by yourself then in Gary Stout's office?
No, there was about 3 other cops.
And are you in handcuffs?
Yes.
And who's doing the questioning or talking at this time?
Gary Stout's, well, Tony Frawley started it on the way into the police station. And then when we got there, Gary Stout, he took me up to Gary Stout's office and he...
Okay, and you say he started, what'd he say?
He asked me if I had anything to say about the whole situation, and
Did he advise you of your Miranda warnings? Right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you?
I think Sheriff Henderson did that.
Well, was Frawley present when that occurred?
I believe so, yes. They were all... There was like 8 cops out there when I got arrested.
So...
I don't know who was. I know Frawley and Sheriff Henderson was in the car when I went back to the police station.
After they advised you of your Miranda warnings, when did they begin to question you?
Yes.
So they did advise you of your Miranda warnings.
Yes.
And then they began to question you, right?
Yes.
And did you ever tell them you wanted to have an attorney present?
Yes.
When did you tell them that?
Right when they said I was under arrest.
And even though you said you wanted to have an attorney present, and that was out at your house, right?
Yes.
They still continued to ask you questions?
Yes.
And Frawley was the first one in the car.
Yeah.
He began to ask you questions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And then you said, I think he asked you, is there anything you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, and
What does that mean?
anything I want to say about why I'm being arrested and
Okay.
if I want to speak it now.
What'd you tell them?
I said, I don't even know what you're arresting me for. I didn't.
Okay.
I told him I don't have nothing to say.
Was Gary Stout with him when that happened?
No, Gary Stout wasn't there when I got arrested.
Then they took you to his office, right?
Yes.
And then you're now in with Stout and these same officers. Is that right?
Yes.
And then what does Stout say to you?
He read me my rights again and told me if I wanted to talk about anything, it'd be a wise idea for me to do it now. And I told him I didn't want to talk about nothing. And he was like, well, I'm just telling you, you won't get any. Told me what he was offering me right then to speak.
Well, that's what I want to know. What did he offer you?
To get out of jail. Oops, that's your part. No, to get out of jail. Go home right then.
He said he'd release you if you'd talk to him?
Yeah.
And what'd you say to him?
I told him he was full of shit and started getting smart with him.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good offer to me immediately. Why didn't you talk to him?
I didn't believe him.
Pardon me?
I didn't believe him.
Did he say to you specifically, so long as you're not the shooter, we'll release you? And so long as you did not kill Tabitha, we'll release you? In other words, did he qualify it as to whether or not if you were the shooter or not?
I believe that's how he said it, yes.
So anyway, at that point in time, you refused to talk to him, right?
Yes.
And then you hired Stephanie, right?
Yes.
Like the next day, probably, right?
She was there the next day, yes.
Did you tell her what Stout said to you?
Yes, she told me what Stout said to her.
She what?
She told me what they said to her.
And did she tell you that he said the same thing to her?
Yes.
And so this was in March of 2002.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so now, was there any conversation between you and the police or you and the prosecutor, your attorney and the police and the prosecutor, that you were advised of between March and August of 2002? Excuse me, not 2002. It'd be 2003.
Yeah. Was there any... I didn't talk to any of them till August.
So nobody came to you till August, and then you said you had a conversation with your attorney and you asked if that offer was still available, right?
Yes.
And what did you tell your attorney, and what did she tell you?
She went over there and over here and talked to Jay, I believe, and he didn't want to offer me that same offer because I've already been charged with the charges. He came to me with that other offer that I did take.
Okay, and so you signed an initial plea agreement, right?
Yes, I did.
And the deal was what?
Class D felony, a year, due 6 months. I think criminal confinement was what the Class D felony was.
You're sure it was a C and not a D?
It was a D.
D felony.
That's what I said, D.
And so you said you'd take that, right?
Yes.
And then was that conditioned upon you passing a polygraph examination?
I believe so. It said anything the police or the prosecution or the state asked me to do for me to meet their qualifications. I don't remember the exact words to the plea.
Well, it had something to do with you giving a truthful statement, right?
Yes.
And so then they polygraphed you right after that. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you pass the polygraph?
I don't believe so. No.
And also, did you start giving statements to the police after you signed that plea agreement?
Yes, I did.
All right. And then the first statement that you gave to the police, was it truthful?
I left out a few details, but...
Now, you've read the statement, right?
Yes.
And do you remember what was not true or what you left, the details you left out?
Yes.
State those to me, please.
It was about the weapon. I did not mention... I told them I didn't know anything about that. And about John something. Yeah, about John going.
The first statement, did you say that John did not help put Tabitha's body in the creek?
Right.
And then the second statement, you said he did help put Tabitha's body in the creek.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about, or is there something else?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
All right. And why did you lie about that the first time and change it the second time?
Because I didn't want John to get in any more trouble.
And you, at this point in time, you'd had the opportunity to read Drew Bush's deposition. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yes.
And you also had the opportunity to talk to your attorney about Drew Bush. Is that correct?
Yes. We'd had a chance to talk about everything prior to that. Yes.
And had you seen the video that Drew Bush gave to the police?
No, I didn't.
So you've never seen the video that he gave to the police as to what happened in the park. Is that correct?
Correct.
You've only read the transcript as to what he said happened. Is that right?
Yes.
How did you tell the police that you got that the gun that was used was obtained from Derek Branham?
No, I did not tell them that.
What did you tell them about Derek Branham?
That he did have guns at one point to sell.
So did you tell the police in your first statement that you didn't know where the gun came from?
Right.
And that Liz is the one that had the gun?
Yes.
So knowing that would make Liz appear to be more at blame in this whole situation. That didn't bother you? Is that correct?
What do you mean?
Well, you didn't care about adding the fact that she got the gun to the story against her.
I just didn't want Mom to be mentioned in it.
Pardon me?
I just didn't want my mom to be mentioned in it.
Right. But you didn't care about what happened to Liz Balser, right?
No.
Is that right or wrong?
That's right.
Now, in your second statement, or in your first statement, you told the police that you called your wife at about 10 p.m. from your mother's house. Is that correct?
I think so, yes. I don't remember the exact time I said I called her.
In your second statement, do you remember changing it to 9 o'clock?
I might have. I don't. I'd have to read it over again. I remember I called her around one of those times, yes. I don't remember which one. Which time I did call her, to be exact.
Do you know if there's a reason why you would have given different times that you called your wife in the two statements?
Because Amanda told me a different time.
Because Amanda told you that you called at a different time?
Right.
So the second statement would have been when Amanda told you that you called her.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
Now, in your first statement, you indicated that you told Tabby to meet you all in the park in about a half an hour. Do you remember that?
I don't remember saying half an hour. I remember saying meet us in the park.
In the second statement, you indicated that you told her to meet you in the park at about 10 o'clock. Do you remember that?
No, I just remember telling her meet us in the park. If you show me, I believe you, but I'm not. I'd have to see it too.
So you don't know why you would have said different things in different statements if you said different things, right?
Right.
You did, however, in the first statement, tell the police that the gun that was used appeared to be the same gun that Derek had. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you ever, in any statement, suggest that Tabitha was dragged at all?
What do you... I don't understand what it is.
You know what the term dragged means.
Like, yeah.
Okay. What would be your definition? If you dragged something, what would you do?
Like to slide something across the ground?
Okay, so they're sliding across the ground.
No, I didn't say that.
So you're saying that you never said that she was ever dragged across the ground.
I don't ever remember saying that, no.
And today in your deposition, when we asked how the body was carried or how it was moved, you indicated it was carried the entire way. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it definitely was not drugged. Is that right?
Right.
Now, at some point in time, I think it was your first statement, you were questioned about whether or not you ever went over to Aaron Sharp's house with Liz Balser. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And your answer was that you did not. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you ever been to Aaron Sharp's house with Liz Balser?
No.
How many times have you been to Aaron Sharp's house?
I can only think of 2, maybe 3 times. I can only remember 2 times.
Have you ever gone over there with Amanda?
Yes.
How many of those times that you went there did you go with Amanda?
I went there both times with Amanda, but Amanda only went up there with me once.
Did you ever go inside the house with Amanda and stand in the living room?
I might have stepped in right when they opened the door, but I never went all the way in with Amanda. She stood right behind me, if I remember correctly.
Well, but you know for a fact you never went there with Liz, right?
Right.
You never saw, I think you already answered to Mr. Roberts' questions, you never saw any underwear at all with Tabitha. Is that right?
No, not that I remember.
No underpants. Is that right?
Right. I don't remember any.
And no bra.
I don't remember any.
At any time were her breasts exposed to the three of you?
I think so, yes.
Under what circumstances?
When we were carrying the body down.
And how'd that happen?
Because her shirt was undone.
What kind of shirt did she have on?
Like a sweatshirt with pockets. that zips up.
So the zipper was down.
Yes.
So and is that all that she had on? Was just the sweatshirt with just the zipper?
That's all I saw.
So if you pulled the zipper down, then there'd be skin.
Yeah.
Is that what you're stating?
Yes.
And that's the way you remember her being carried over to the water?
Yes, to the water. Yes.
Do you remember what color the sweatshirt was?
No, I don't.
Now, when Tabitha walked over to you all with Drew, there was never any mean talk by any of you up until the time that she and Liz confronted each other. Is that correct?
Correct.
And tell me what, if anything, she said to you or anybody else as she proceeded from the pavilion to where you and John and Liz were.
Probably said hi. How you guys doing? Or I don't remember exact topics.
Now, once again, I don't want you to say things you don't know for sure.
I know we said hi.
But if you know something, then that's fine. But
how you doing? Hi.
So did she acknowledge you all in a friendly manner?
Yes.
Is that what the context was, or did she not say anything?
She acknowledged us.
Okay.
With hi, how are you doing?
And that was it?
That's all I remember, yes.
And you all three, the three of you, were all standing together at that time. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, when you indicated that Liz had struck her, I think you also indicated at no time did Tabitha ever fight back. Is that right?
Right.
Now, you indicated that Liz, you'd seen her and she asked if you'd disposed of the clothes. What did you tell her?
Yes.
Why did you lie to her?
I just figured that's what I needed to tell her.
So why did you want to keep her clothes?
I never got a chance to dispose of them, to burn them.
Are you saying that you were never alone for 6 months?
I had time when I was alone. I'd forgotten about it then.
So it wasn't an issue for you, really?
I completely spaced it, yeah. I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel very comfortable carrying them across the parking lot.
Well, you don't have to really carry them. You could put them in a little bag or something, couldn't you?
Well, I know I could have, but I didn't.
You go out in the country all the time and use cocaine, right?
Yeah.
You're out there all by yourself, right?
Yeah, I usually do cocaine by myself, whether it's in the country or in my bathroom.
Did you ever try to contact Brooke Mendenhall anytime within a month to 2 weeks before Tabitha died?
I don't remember. I remember contacting her one day on the phone. I remember her. I think she called me, but I don't remember when it was.
Did you ever call Derek Branham and ask him for Brooke Mendenhall's telephone number?
I don't remember.
Do you know why you would have done that if you did?
Because Brooke was an old friend.
How many times have you contacted Brooke since the two of you were arrested on that robbery charge?
When I got out, bonded out of jail, went up and visited her at Howard County Jail once. Quite a few times actually back in the 99 after she got out of jail. But after I got arrested again, I've only talked to her twice, 3 times.
So you would consider you and Brooke friends after that robbery incident, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you ever see Liz driving that vehicle any time after October the 2nd?
I believe so, yes.
We're in this area again, of believing in whatever, okay? So What's your answer?
I've seen her drive it after then, yes. But I don't remember how long after.
And where did you see her with it?
In town.
And I know you stated you saw her driving it, but you don't know how long.
After?
On the basis of now, you believe it may have been, or whatever, how long do you think it may have been afterwards?
Within a month or so, I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
Did you ever tell anybody that you saw the car being driven by her at another time?
I don't know.
Did you ever tell the police in any of your two statements that you used the rumors that you heard from October of 2002 to March of 2003 regarding who all was involved in this case, and also depositions, that you used those to cover your ass?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
And what did you mean by that?
When I'd hear one, if someone would ask me about it, I'd say, what? Like, say, Becky told me something, or Kayla Amon told me something. I would say, well, I heard this. I don't know exactly what all I used.
So it would be true then that you would use those rumors to provide information that a certain fact may or may not have occurred with other people, whether you knew it or not personally. Is that right?
Yes.
Did Liz go through Tabitha's purse at the park?
Yes, she did.
Did you watch her do that?
Yes.
And then did she close the purse?
Yes.
And why is it that you opened the purse?
Again?
On your way home. Uh-huh.
To see if I could see anything in there.
All right. Now, when you said you opened, you responded to that one other time, and your quote was that you did it out of habit. What does that mean?
Go through it. I had it, so I figured I'd go through it and see if there was anything in there.
Is there any reason why the body was actually placed in the creek instead of just simply thrown in the creek?
I don't know. Not that I know of, no.
You're stating for sure that when you pulled into the driveway of your house after the murder took place, that you stopped the car, or excuse me, you stopped your motorcycle at the back door and you put the items that you were carrying either on or under the motorcycle and went into the house. Is that correct?
Yes, it was somewhere around the back door because that's the door I went in.
Okay.
There's a little sidewalk that goes like L-shaped around that corner of my house, and I always park my bike on it.
All right. And so after you changed your clothes, you're indicating that you then took everything to the shed, so you would have to pick up those items and carry them in your hand along with the bike to the shed. Is that correct?
Well, I carried them in between me and the seat and the gas tank. I didn't have to necessarily hold them in my hand, no.
Well, you said you thought you put something down between the bike, I think, earlier.
Yeah.
So you would have had to pick that up. Is that right?
Right.
Did you ever call Michael and tell him that the cops were questioning you and ask him what you should do?
No. Michael Raines?
Uh-huh, Michael Raines.
No, I haven't talked to Michael since that day he came over.
Did you ever tell Dan that you loved Tabitha?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you share your personal life at all with him?
Sometimes. That depends what part.
Well, about the sexual relationship part where you would suggest this dilemma of how you may be in love with two different girls?
I told him, no. I told him about the threesome with Tabby. That's really all I told him about that.
Did you ever say to anybody that Tabby deserved to get her ass beat for stealing cocaine?
If she stole it, yeah. If I stole it, I deserve it.
How much cocaine, or why is it that you participated with Liz in this situation at the park?
Because she offered me some cocaine if she got it back.
And how much was that?
An 8-ball.
And did you ever get it?
No.
So she offered it to you on the condition that I'll give it to you
If she gets
if I get it back.
right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you ever give Tabby cocaine?
Yeah, I have in the past.
I mean, you didn't sell it to her. You just gave it to her, right?
I let her try a line or two.
Did Amanda know that your mother had a gun at the house?
I don't know. I believe so, but I don't know for sure.
And you've known about it forever. Is that correct?
Since she got it, yes.
And have you ever forgot about that at all? Or is that something you've just always known?
I've always known it. Whether I thought about it on the top of my head, no, I never.
Whether you thought about it on the top of your head, what does that mean?
You said, did I ever forget about it? No, I've never forgot that she had the gun, but I never really thought about it much.
Well, you needed a gun when Tabitha, the drug dealer from Indianapolis, was threatening you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you had access to a gun. Is that correct?
Right. Right.
When Gary Stout met with you and Amanda, did he suggest to you any of the suspects?
He didn't say no one's a suspect. Or he said no one was a suspect. Just a missing persons right now.
How do you know Mr. Ogden?
He was my middle school PE teacher.
And have you ever been to his house?
I've seen him outside of his house, told him hi, stuff like that. But I've never been inside of his house.
You indicated that one time you were at Tabitha's house when Liz was present, and there was a Nicole and a Travis. Who's Nicole? Nicole who?
I don't know who you're talking about.
Do you know anybody named Nicole that knows Tabby?
No.
Do you know anybody named Travis?
Closer.
Is that Tara's boyfriend?
Yes. That's the only Travis I know.
Tabby worked at your mom's place for just 1 month in the summer of 2002. Is that right?
Approximately a month, yes. I don't know.
And you think it was July, you mentioned previously.
I believe so, yes.
And I thought you said that you thought that she quit because she was arrested for child neglect or something like that.
Yes, that's what she...
Do you know any more about that?
Well, she didn't quit. She got fired for not showing up. But she told my mom she didn't show up because she got arrested for child neglect.
Mr. Alden. Okay, all right. I have no further questions. Mr. Roberts. I've got a couple things I want to clarify. Continuation of direct examination by Mr. Roberts. When you were putting the body, down the rooted path into the water.
Uh-huh.
Now, if I understand your testimony today, Tabby was only clothed in a zip down
Sweatshirt,
gray in color.
I didn't say the color.
Was it gray?
I don't remember.
It was a zip down sweatshirt.
I believe.
Had pockets in the side.
I believe so, yes.
And the zipper was down.
Yes.
Her breasts were exposed.
Yes.
It's the only piece of clothing she had on.
Yes.
And you placed her in the water.
Yes.
Can't remember the temperature.
I don't remember the temperature of the water.
Don't know whether it was cold or warm.
I don't remember. I don't want to say.
Was the body submerged?
It went under, yes.
Did anybody check it to make sure that it stayed under?
I don't remember.
Did anybody put any rocks or anything on top of it?
I didn't see that happen, no.
Now, you've been asked this before. I'm going to ask you again. Did anybody shoot her while she was in the water?
No.
Anybody fire that gun at any time?
I didn't hear it.
at the water side?
I didn't hear it, no.
Well, now,
I didn't see it either, so no.
you didn't hear it, you didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Right.
That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
You thought you heard 3 bullets at the other end of the park.
Yes.
Now, I want you to think about this question.
Okay.
Knowing the position by the, I'll call it, wooden bridge that I've referred to before,
Yes.
that's near the scene of where Tabitha was shot.
Yes, it is.
Why didn't you walk straight across the park, okay, to where you placed the body in the water, rather than take the route all the way around the park?
We were following Liz's lead, and that was the darkest street around is why. I believe that's why we went that way.
It was the darkest way around?
Yes, that's why I believe. And we followed Liz's lead. That's why we went that way.
So you just followed her. Nobody said anything. Nobody commented about why we're going around here.
I don't remember any. I don't remember what comments were made or nothing, so I'm not.
She didn't. When did she tell you where she was going to put that body?
On the walk over there after.
Where on the walk?
I don't remember where.
Were you on the way to your right, or were you on the way to your left?
What do you mean?
When you left the scene where she was shot, you went to your right, correct? Went west.
We went west, yes.
And then you went around, and then you went back east.
Right.
Were you headed west or east?
Wait a minute. Go back. We didn't go east.
Well, you would have been headed towards 19. Isn't that east?
On the way back?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, on the way back, we didn't have the body with us anymore. It was already...
No, I meant to the place where you placed the body in the water.
On the way there?
Up by the water tower.
You've got me all confused.
The water tower is where you put the body, right?
No.
There isn't a water tower there?
There's a water tower in the middle of the hospital parking lot.
Uh-huh.
We didn't put her...
When you got up by the hospital parking lot, isn't that where you placed the body in the water?
Yeah, before that, yes.
Now let's go backwards, okay?
Okay.
You go all the way back around to the other side.
Yeah.
And almost directly across the park and the pavilion is between you and where the shooting took place, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think.
Why didn't you walk straight over that way?
I don't know.
Just following Liz?
We're following her lead, yes.
She never said, I want to go over by the
I don't remember if she...
baseball field or anything like that to put it in.
She told us we're going to hide it in the water, yes.
Water was right next to you within 50 feet.
Yeah, but...
Why didn't you put her in the water there?
Right there's in the middle of the park by the highway.
Uh-huh.
She wanted to go put it in more of a discreet area.
Is that what she told you?
I don't remember her exact words, but that's the essence of her conversation, yes.
Kyle, I've listened to your testimony for a long time now, and I never heard you or anybody else say that anybody knew or planned to shoot Tabby.
To my knowledge, it was going to be for a threat, not to kill her.
You brought a loaded gun for a threat?
Yes, I didn't think about unloading it.
Why didn't you?
I was in a hurry. I don't know why for sure. I was in a hurry, I guess.
just in a hurry. Go in and get the gun out of your mom's house and give it to Liz Balser. Ms. Duran, I'm going to object for the record that this has been covered. It's been asked and answered, and it's argumentative for the record. You can answer it. Ms. Duran, you can answer it.
Okay, yeah, I was in a hurry. I went and got it.
Now, when you went back to your mother's house,
Yes.
who cleaned it up after you went in?
After I went in, I did.
You didn't tell us about that before.
Yes, I did.
Mr. Rich, I'll object. He's already said that he cleaned it up. Okay, where did you get the stuff to clean it up with?
Underneath the sink at my mom's house.
Now, I have a note here, and I want to make sure I'm right, that you said that Mom and Marcia had stopped by your house earlier while you were gone.
Uh-huh.
And your wife was there, I take it.
Yes.
Who is Marcia?
A lady that works for my mom.
Okay.
Friend of the family.
Did Mom go home that night and go to her house, or did she go to someplace else?
I don't know if she went to her house or her boyfriend's house. I believe she went to her boyfriend's house because she was going on vacation.
So both times that you were in the house, she was not present.
Right.
And
she didn't stay there that much.
Now you took the clothes, okay?
Uh-huh.
And the last time you've seen the clothes, it was in the shed behind the house that your mother owns out at 28 and 31.
Yes.
That's the last place you saw.
Yes.
And that's where you put them, and you never destroyed them or moved them.
Right.
Now, in that was the belt and the pants and the purse.
Uh-huh.
Right? Okay. Do you know today what happened to those 3 items?
Uh-uh. I have my ideas, but
Tell me.
I believe when my mom and one of the ladies out at Cheryl's was cleaning out the shed, they threw it away.
They just threw away Tabitha Raines' purse.
They did not know. I don't believe they knew.
Now, you opened up that purse. Was there any ID in there?
Yeah, I think so. Her wallet was in there.
Uh-huh. What happened after you shut the shed up? Okay?
Uh-huh.
Put your bike in there. Put these 3 items in there. Put the 3 items in another container, okay? But the container over and just forgot about it. Is that right?
I didn't forget about it, no.
Well, you didn't make any effort to touch them again.
Right. I never had a chance.
From October the 2nd till, what was your arrest date? March 25th, 26th, somewhere in there?
20th?
20th?
I never had the chance. And when I did, I didn't I spaced it.
You what?
Spaced it. I didn't.
You just didn't want to think about it. Is that it? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I didn't want to think about it.
What is your deal with the prosecutor now?
I signed a Class C felony, aiding, inducing, or causing a battery, and it's left to the discretion of the court to what I get sentenced for. And
Okay, so go ahead, tell me.
it's 8 years is what Class C felony holds.
That's the maximum?
Yes.
Has the prosecutor indicated to you that any recommendation that he makes will depend upon your cooperation?
He hasn't. My attorney told me just to expect 8 years, and if I get better than that, that'll be good, but don't get my hopes up.
There's no deal with regard to time except 8 years flat.
It's up to the judge.
And if he gives you 8, you do 4,
Right.
provided you're a good boy.
Right. And if I get a college education, maybe a time cut or something.
Recently, Drew Bush was in jail with you.
Yes.
Did you and he talk?
No.
Where did they have him in relation to you in the jail?
I'm in block 2 and he was in, I think, 3 or 4. I don't know what exact block he was in.
So he was separated from both you and
John, yes.
John Yates.
Except for when we went to rec.
To rec.
Right.
Do you recognize him when he was in the jail?
A little bit, yes.
Well, that's kind of like being a little pregnant. You either do or you don't.
I recognized him to the point, yes. I didn't like his haircut or nothing, didn't look. I recognized him by his size and build and all that, not by his features.
Did he say anything to you?
No, not to me.
Did he act any different, or did he act nervous or anything around you?
Not around me, no. He didn't come around me. He was probably from me to that bookcase over there, away from me. I didn't get any closer to him.
Now, I want to make sure that I understand this correctly too. And I realize it's been gone into a couple of times. But when you got out of Elizabeth's car,
you
asked him for your mom's gun back.
Yes.
She gave it back to you.
Yes.
She gave you the 3 items that we talked about before.
Yes.
And simply said, burn them.
Yes, in my fireplace.
In the fireplace? And that was the extent of it? You go your way? Didn't talk about meeting? Didn't talk about anything else? You just...
I told her I'd do it.
Okay.
I said, I'll talk to you later. That's what I usually say when I leave somebody. Or I'll see you later or something like that.
Went home, did your thing about cleaning up, went to the shed, went in and went to bed. Went to sleep?
Pretty much. I took a shower, then when I got home.
Sure. Went to sleep?
Pretty soon after that, yeah.
What time did you get up the next morning?
About 10, 9, whenever Skylar woke up.
Skylar woke you up? You slept good?
Yeah, I guess. I might have got up to use the bathroom or something. I don't know.
Your house. Excuse me. The place where you were living, where your mother owns.
Yes.
Out at 28 and 31. Has the police ever been in there to investigate that house?
When I gave that statement, they came inside my house, yes.
Did they search it?
They went through it, yes. We were searching for that box, the Rubbermaid box, because it wasn't over in the shed.
Was this at the time of your arrest or at the time you tried to make the first deal?
When I tried to make my first deal.
And that first deal was turned down because?
Lack of candor, I believe.
Lack of what?
Candor.
Candor? What does that mean to you?
They said I wasn't being completely truthful.
Okay, and who told you? Who made that observation or conclusion?
I believe Jay Rich did.
And was that after your lie detector test?
Yes.
You did take a polygraph?
Yes.
And you did fail?
That's what they say, yes.
Have you ever seen the results of it?
I seen what was typed up from the polygraph examiner, what he said the results were.
Okay, tell me.
He said I wasn't being completely truthful.
Okay, any particular portion that you weren't being truthful about?
I don't know what portion he was talking about. I don't know I don't understand it. Really what I read. I just understand it said I wasn't being completely truthful.
Were you being completely truthful, Kyle?
Yes, I was.
When you gave them the first statement about Jonathan Yates, you weren't truthful then?
Right. I corrected it.
You corrected it the second time, and the second time you told us that his involvement has been nothing more than helping carry a body from point A to point B and talking about the use of cocaine or being promised it from Elizabeth Balser.
Yes.
And leaving.
Right.
Am I right?
Yes.
Mr. Rich, I'm going to object to that characterization because Yates' involvement is more extensive than that. Kyle's testified that he held Bush back when Bush moved to assist Tabitha Raines. Mr. Roberts, that was my next point.
Yes.
Okay, you're talking about Bush, pretty big boy.
Not much bigger than, a little bit heftier than me, but not a lot bigger than me.
He's been described as being a really wily guy and strong guy, right?
Yeah.
Also, it's been described that when the fight started, okay, between Elizabeth and Tabitha, that he started to move towards her.
Yes.
Okay, and that both you and Jonathan grabbed hold of each of his arms. You momentarily held him and let go.
Yes.
That's all?
Yes.
You basically stopped his momentum.
Yes, we did.
You did not hold him, tie him up, continue to hold him for, let's say, 3 minutes or until such time as he can.
We might have held him a minute or two, yeah.
Minute or two?
I don't know how long we held him, per se.
Did he try to jerk away from you?
Not real bad, no. Not enough to...
Didn't he even try at all? Did he? I mean, you just grabbed a hold of his arms and he stopped?
We pulled him back, yeah.
He stopped. He didn't back up, did he?
Maybe a step or two. I don't know exactly how far back, if he did.
Well, you said you were within 3-4 feet, maybe 5 feet of where the shooting occurred?
Right?
So he couldn't have been too close, and he couldn't have backed up too far, right?
Right.
And he freely ran away.
After
the shots were fired.
Yes.
You did nothing to stop him.
No.
Jonathan Yates did nothing to stop him.
Not that I know of.
Somebody, you saw a gun, and you saw this boy moving towards the gun, and you reached out to stop him intentionally.
What do you mean?
Well, you told us you saw a gun in Elizabeth's hand, right?
Yeah.
And you saw Drew moving towards her while she had the gun in her hand, and you reached out and grabbed him.
I said he went towards her when the fight began.
Okay.
I didn't say when she had the gun in her hand.
All right. Then tell me, when did she first have the gun in her hand?
Right after we stopped Drew is when I first saw it in her hand.
Hold up. Hold up.
Yeah, time out. Time out.
Because she was pistol whipped. So she had to have the gun in her hand.
Yes.
But yet he didn't see it.
No, apparently not. He's still
bullshit.
lying. He's still
bullshit.
lying.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's see what everybody's saying here, because I just need a break.
An eye break.
Yeah.
You need an eye break.
I just want you guys to see what we're reading from.
Ta-da! That's what we're reading from.
It's small. It's little 4 squares on each page. It's crazy.
And it doesn't go across.
No.
Left to right. It goes top to bottom, top to bottom.
Yeah. Angie Miller says, I graduated from Tipton High School in '94. Even though it was premeditated, he supposedly set the meeting up with Tabby and Elizabeth and supplied the gun. Yep. This is why Gary Stout dismissed the plea. Did you notice that, according to Kyle here, Jay Rich is the one that got rid of the plea?
Right.
I thought that was interesting. Other than Prosecutor Rich told us the gun could have come from Derek Branham, for all we know. Nothing else adds up, that prosecutor told us, right? And did you notice that that one attorney specifically asked if Amanda knew that his mother had a gun?
Sure did.
Picked up on that one right away. Kyle's mom claimed the gun, but we haven't seen any proof from Ellie that the gun is in fact was in her name.
We have a copy of the license.
Yeah. There's a copy of the license in the file. The hoodie she was found in, we were told by a trustworthy source, belonged to his mother. And that's another thing. Okay. You know darn well he was still lying about the fact that the guy asked him, why do you always go through her purse? Not through Amanda's purse. He said, oh, you always go through Tabitha's purse. Did you catch that?
He asked him why he went through it, and he said, because I always go through it.
Right. Really? You always go through Tabitha's purse? Why would you always go through Tabitha's purse?
Right.
Sorry, I can't comment about anything because I'm not in depth with the case, but thank you for allowing me to be here. Oh, you're welcome. Kyle was 19, I believe, in 2002. I think that's right. Let's see. He had felony gun charges on him, but received no part of the plea bargain. Yeah, why wasn't he charged for bringing the gun?
True.
That's my thing. If he brought the gun, why wasn't he charged for that? Love Tina, they let her bleed out before they started moving her. They found no blood whatsoever at the park. None.
And according to all the depositions, it was within minutes that they started moving her.
Right.
So, no, they didn't actually let her bleed out, per se, before they moved her.
Well, she would have been wet when she went in the creek.
Who? Tabitha wouldn't have been wet when she went in the creek. After she had been put in the creek, yes.
Right.
But not before.
Love Tina says, was she wet? Maybe in the creek. Right. She would have been wet when they put her in the creek. But not before. They had to put reasonable doubt on the murder. It doesn't matter that Tabitha isn't here to vouch for what he's saying. He sold or did anything with. This is so wrong. Yeah, and Tabby was one of his best friends. So Tabby was Kyle's wife's best friend.
Supposedly.
Supposedly, yep. And allegedly he told people that he loved Tabitha. Why wouldn't he address her as Tabby instead of it? Good question.
Well, because I think because he was referring to the lawyer was talking about the body.
Right.
So that's why he said it.
Love Tina says maybe his wife found out. He got mad at Tabby for saying something and called her it. Maybe.
Huh. Maybe.
She could have been feeling guilty for doing something behind her friend's back. See, love Tina, you don't need to.
You don't need to know the whole case.
Her husband, I should say. Tabby was about to ruin him and his wife's relationship, too. Great point.
And have we read? Has that been said yet?
Which part?
What Amanda said at the pork festival?
No.
Have we read that yet?
No.
Okay.
The shooting supposedly happened 1 city block distance across the park, with minor obscured view to the Highway 19 Main Street, Tipton at 10:20, 10:30, according to Andrew Bush. All right, let's see. Yes, all of Tabitha's stories are in a playlist, so you can go back and watch them. You're not making anything worse. You're doing.
And so far we're only onto the second person's depositions.
Yep.
So yeah, there's 12 episodes, but there's like 4 or 5 episodes of one person.
Yeah. She says you guys are good at reading together. Thank you.
Maybe because we're one brain.
We've wondered that as well from the beginning. He did have feelings towards her. So,
because the drugs do funny things.
Yep. He should have been shocked and wanting to tell the proper truth, not the story about the park killing. And Mark, he only wanted to love her from a distance. He was married. Great point, Tina. Love, Tina. See, you're doing just fine, girl. You got this.
Back to Mark's comment about why wouldn't he be sorrowful? Because if you remember right, he had just went out and done a gram of cocaine, not even an hour or two before this. So he is
high,
extremely high, especially if he did it all by himself, like he said.
I don't know that he did it by himself.
I don't either.
Just saying. Just saying.
Just saying.
All right, can you talk to them for a minute? I don't care about what. I have to run to the bathroom.
Okay. Thanks for ditching me.
Sorry, too much water today.
I thought I was going to have to put you on mute a minute ago to let the dogs out, but I don't know.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, Mark says he came forward with practicing Andrew Bush's statements and depositions supplied to him by prosecutor Rich. Yeah, I've never heard that done before. I don't know why he would have been able to see them or even read them beforehand, because that's supposed to be like lawyer-client confidentiality, so I really don't know why they would have let him read those. That was told to us by Amanda, his wife. What was told to you guys by Amanda? That he got to read the statements? Wait till you guys see the reenactment, because for one, it was absolutely hilarious when we were trying to do it, because it just will blow your mind how he says it happened and how we tried to do it. It was, you'll see, it was just not in the cards. Okay, Mark. Well, he admitted to reading them, so there's no question there that he did or did not read them. So, and Love Tina, you said that he only wanted to love her from a distance because he was married. Yes and no, because there was several times that he would go into town on his motorcycle and Tabby would go on motorcycle rides with him. That was discussed earlier in some of the previous episodes, so you wouldn't know that. So they were together more than what was known. Mark, true, but we were first notified by Amanda. Oh, okay.
Amanda said a lot of things, man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Was she trying to cover her ass?
I don't know. Wife scorned.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
Are you ready?
What page
We're on
are we
line. We're on line 14 on page 201.
Okay.
I'll go to line 12.
Okay.
All right, then tell me, when did she first have the gun in her hand?
Right after we stopped Drew is when I first saw it in her hand.
So you don't know whether she had it in her hand and he saw it or not.
I don't think he did, but he might have.
And you said she pointed it at him?
Yes.
And then that was the end of it?
Mid-range toward.
You let go of him. Jonathan let go of him.
Yeah. He didn't want.
And he just stood there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nobody ever touched Drew again.
No.
Could it be that this whole...
Might have brushed up against him.
But couldn't have lasted over 10 seconds, could it?
No.
Now, there was a fight.
Yeah.
And I think you've told us before that Elizabeth hit Tabby with her fist.
Tabby. Yes.
Tabby with her fist, because he said Tammy.
Yeah.
Tabby with her fist, yes.
Yes.
Again, tell me which fist.
I think her right fist. It might have been her left. God, this guy doesn't know what is up.
I know. That would have hit her left side. Tabby's left side of her face.
Right. It might have been right and left.
Might have been.
I think she got hit twice.
What'd you see? Now, I don't want to get into...
I don't remember which fist she hit her with. I don't remember which fist. Time out.
Did you?
How freaking convenient.
Right.
He doesn't remember anything when it comes to the specifics.
Right.
Oh. Okay.
Did you even see her hit her with her fist?
Yes.
Which one?
I don't remember.
You ever see her hit with, apparently, let me see, withdraw that. You set her down when you're at the water, okay? You set her down on, or laid her down in the water.
Let go of her, yes.
All right. There wasn't any rocks, anything like that put on top of her.
No.
No blunt objects, nothing.
I didn't see no one do that.
Okay?
Right.
So she was not touched at any time. Okay. From the time she was shot, okay, except by laying her down, smoking a cigarette, and re-grabbing her on 2 occasions.
Right.
On the way to the creek where you planned to take her.
Till Liz undressed her, yes.
As I recall, the last time we were here, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, you said that you were pretty positive that Elizabeth hit her 3 times with her right fist. Are you backing off of that now?
No. I'm not backing off of it, but I'd have to read through it to see if I said that.
I'm curious. Okay, why would he have to read through it to remember if he said that?
To get
Because
a
he doesn't.
story straight.
Exactly.
He's still lying.
Right. I'm curious as to why you answered that question that way.
Because that's probably what I believed. Yeah. You see?
Mr. Alden, what was that answer? I'm sorry.
What I believed at the time. I mean, I'm not doubting it now.
Are you telling me then that you believed one thing the last time you were here to testify and you believe something else today?
I didn't say I believe something else. I'm just saying, I'm not saying, I said I believed it at the time, yes. I'm not saying I don't believe it now either. It's...
Okay, but you just told me you didn't know whether she was hit with one hand or two hands.
Right.
See, I'm trying to get at what you saw.
Okay.
And you told us that you saw, and you weren't equivocating it, 3 times with the same hand.
Okay.
Are you changing that?
No, I haven't changed it.
Did you see her hit with the gun?
No.
So if somebody says that she was hit with the gun, you didn't see it.
Right.
Mr. Roberts. Okay, that's all. Mr. Rich. That's all, meaning that's all your questions? Mr. Roberts. Uh-huh. Mr. Rich. Okay. Want to take a break? Mr. Alden. I just have a couple, unless you guys are going to ask him some. It'll just take a minute, okay? Then we can get out of here. Mr. Rich. Well, I've got... Mr. Alden. Huh? Mr. Rich. Well, I've got a number of questions to ask him. Mr. Alden. Oh, you do? Okay, all right. Let's take a break. Mr. Rich. Okay. Off record. Continuation of direct examination by Robert Alden. Or Mr. Alden. Okay, Kyle. For the record, this is Robert Alden, again, asking questions on some omitted questions I had. On the evening of October the 2nd, you indicated that you, strike that, we, when I took your original deposition back on April the 29th, which has been transcribed and given to me, and I know you said you haven't seen it. But to refresh your recollection, do you remember telling me that you saw Liz that night and she told you that she wanted you to get Tabby to go to the park?
Right.
And we tried to go through a timeline as to when that might have occurred, and we went through all day and how many minutes it would take you to get from one place to the next. And do you remember going through all that?
Yes.
All right. And so I'm going to quote my question here. It's on page 127. Quote, okay, so you're saying you saw Tabby. Let's see. I'm going to go back on the timetable here. You saw Liz, you drove around, you say you saw Tabby around 9:15, and then there's 10 more minutes, and so then about 30 minutes later, so now it's about 9:45. 9:30 to 9:45. Yeah. And I said that you're at the park. Is that right? And you said yes. Actually, if you saw Tabby around 9:15, and you said you saw her at the VP.
Yes.
And you talked to her for a little bit, right?
For a few minutes, yes.
And then you said it took you about a half an hour to get to the park, right?
Approximately, yes.
I mean, do you remember telling me that?
What you just read? After you read it, I do. Yes.
Well, okay. Let's start all over again. Do you remember talking to Tabby?
Yes.
Do you know how long you talked to her?
Few minutes.
Then how long was it before you got to the park after you talked to Tabby?
I would guess approximately a half hour or so.
So if you say you saw Tabby at 9:15, then you talked to her for a few minutes, say 9:20, then a half an hour, so it'd be almost 9:45, 10 till 10 or so before you got to the park, right?
Right.
You know at 9:15 that Tabby had not yet seen Liz. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the reason you know that is because you told Tabby that Liz was looking for her.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then between 9:15 and the time you went to the park, you saw Liz, right?
Yes, I did.
And you wasn't with Tabby, was she? Or she wasn't with Tabby, was she?
No, she wasn't.
So did you ever see Tabby riding around with Liz at any time during the night of October the 2nd?
No.
Based on what you know and you saw, it would have been impossible for them to be riding around together. Is that correct?
Right.
And based then upon, well, strike that. Mr. Alden. Okay, I don't have any further questions. Cross-examination. Questions by Mr. Rich. For the record, Kyle, this is Jay Rich, Tipton County Prosecutor. I'm going to ask you some questions based on some of the answers you've given to Mr. Roberts and Mr. Alden's questions. You've been asked a lot of questions, Kyle, in regard to times. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Could you be off in terms of some of these times?
Yes.
Did you have a watch on that night?
No, I didn't.
Were you paying any attention to what time it was?
No.
When you've been asked about these times regarding certain events, you've prefaced a lot of your answers with, I'm guessing it was about. I think it was about. I'd say it was about. Does that mean you're guessing?
Yes.
In terms of how long it took to get from one point to another.
Right.
There's no way for you to be sure.
Right. I didn't have a clock on my bike, and I don't have a watch on.
You went through the park, I believe, in August of 2003 with law enforcement. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, time out a second. Just so everybody knows, the courthouse that is in the center of town has a clock on all four sides of it. So no matter if you had a clock, a watch, or a phone, anything, you would know what time it was. All you had to do was look at the center of town, and the clock tower shoots up above the whole entire town.
And VP is, you could see that from VP.
VP is a block away.
Right.
Okay. You went through the park, I believe, in August of 2003 with law enforcement. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And do you recall that that was videotaped?
Yes, it was.
The police took you to different points in the park.
Yes.
Asked you questions about different things that happened at different locations.
Yes, they did.
Would that video be accurate as to the locations of different events that night occurring?
Yes, it would.
In regard to some of the questions you've been asked about the container that I believe you placed Tabitha's clothes in.
Yes.
You left the park, you went to your mother's house, you went home, and you placed these clothes into a container. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
What kind of container was it? You're muted.
Like a Rubbermaid tote that the lid comes off of it. I think it's Rubbermaid or Tuppermaid, or I don't know the exact kind.
Did you just grab any container?
No, I grabbed one that I knew no one else would get into.
Were there already items in that container?
Yes.
Where did you place Tabitha's clothes in relation to those other items in the tote?
Underneath of them.
Well, what a dumbass. Only reason I'm saying that is because he says his racing gear was in there. If he placed those bloody quote, bloody clothes under his racing gear, duh. Okay, moving on. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So you moved, tried to place them towards the bottom and
Yes.
cover them.
Yes, I did.
I'm going to ask you some questions about a lot of things that we haven't talked about today.
Okay.
Things you talked about 3-4 weeks ago when Mr. Alden started this whole process. You mentioned that you had moved in with a Brooke Mendenhall.
Yes.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And Brooke is a friend of yours.
Yes.
Testified today you would consider her still to be a friend.
Yes, I would.
And you lived with her for about 2 months in 98. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You also mentioned that during that time period, it was the first time you'd met Elizabeth Balser.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
She came over, partied with us, got high. She was friends with Brooke, too.
Were Elizabeth Balser and Brooke Mendenhall close friends?
From what I understood, yes.
From what you observed?
Yes.
So they were together a lot during that 2-month period that you lived with Brooke.
Quite a bit, I'd say.
They were together a lot at the apartment that you lived in with Brooke.
A lot at the apartment, and they'd go out together, too.
And many of these times that Elizabeth would come over to the apartment, you were there?
Yes, when I wasn't working.
So you knew each other on a first-name basis.
Yes.
You testified in response to one of Mr. Alden's questions that you know about Brooke Mendenhall's character just as she would know about yours. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
So you would still maintain that you have a good idea about what her character's like.
Yes.
And she would know about yours too.
I would believe so, yes.
You were also asked about a sexual connection, whether one existed between you and Brooke. Do you recall that?
I don't remember that, no.
Okay. You really didn't get a chance to answer that question, or maybe that's not a fair characterization, but there was no answer to that.
There wasn't one, no.
Okay, why not?
She was a lesbian.
Was that something that was stated between the two of you?
Yes. I respected her for it, just like I would expect her to respect me for my beliefs.
So that's something you two had talked about?
Yes. And her girlfriend was one of my good friends, too.
Mr. Alden, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that answer.
Her girlfriend was one of my good friends, too, and I tried to stay out of the middle of their relationship.
And who was that?
Autumn Billings.
Does that last name sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So during that 2-month period in 98 that you lived with Brooke, she was seen or had a relationship with this Billings gal.
Yes.
Any sexual relationship that you were aware of between Brooke Mendenhall and Elizabeth Balser at this time?
At that time, I don't think they had, no.
From your observations, they just appeared to be close friends?
Yes.
You've indicated, Kyle, that in 2002 you were getting cocaine from Adam Johnson and a Mike Burleson. Is that correct?
Yes.
You also indicated that you got cocaine from what we've referred to as Tabby the drug dealer.
Yes.
And that's a gal by the name of Tabitha that lived in Indianapolis.
Correct.
And how many times did you get cocaine from her?
Once.
You went to Indianapolis to purchase cocaine?
Yes, I did.
From her?
Yes.
And that visit led to the allegation that she made that you had ripped her off?
Yes, it is.
And you've already said that she was stating that you'd ripped her off of was it a gram of cocaine?
Yes, that's what she said.
Adam Johnson, again, as you've indicated before, was not there. Is that correct?
Right. He called down there when I was there, but he wasn't there.
So you don't recall Adam Johnson physically being at Tabitha, the drug dealer's house, the time you were there?
Correct.
And who were you there with?
Scott Mossberg and Ray. Rachel's her real name. I don't know her last name.
Did Amanda go with you?
Yes, Amanda went with me too.
You come home from visiting Tabitha, the drug dealer, and you get a phone call from her.
Yes.
Who talked to her?
I started out talking to her, and then I just hung up on her, and then Amanda talked to her too, and so did Rachel and Scott. They both talked to her also.
Does that mean there were 4 different phone calls?
I know.
Where each of you talked to her at one time?
I know of 2 different phone calls, but I don't know of 4.
Would the first phone call be the phone call involving you and Tabby, the drug dealer?
Correct. It was actually called on, I think, Rachel's or Scott's cell phone, and they gave her my home phone number because they didn't have much minutes on their cell phone.
So when you get home, a call comes in on their cell phone.
Yes.
And she wants to talk to you.
Right.
And you get off the phone with her.
Right.
And she was accusing her of ripping her off.
Yes.
And you ended that conversation.
Yes, I did.
By hanging up?
Yes.
She calls back.
Yes.
Did she call your home phone number?
Yes, she did.
And on the second call, Scott, Ray, Amanda, and all three talked to her?
I think just Amanda and Scott did.
And she was threatening you?
She was threatening not me, but my wife and my son.
And after these threats were made on the phone, did you ever see this Tabitha, the drug dealer, again?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever hear from her again?
No.
Did you ever see or hear from associates of hers?
Yes.
Who?
Johnson, Adam Johnson. I asked him about her, and he said for me not to worry about it. She's not going to do nothing. And Scott and Rachel, I talked to them about it, and they said if she was going to do something, she'd have done it by now, so not to worry about it.
So from that day forward, you never received or heard any threats from her?
Right.
Adam Johnson was the main supplier for you during this period of time?
Yes.
How often did this Burleson fellow hook you up?
Well, he left town and went on tour with Fish. Or somebody, some concert group, and he hooked me up with Adam Johnson. But before Adam, I was getting all my stuff from him.
From Burleson?
Yes.
Over what period of time?
Probably 2-3 months prior to that, all the way back till 4 or 5 months after I got out of jail last time.
In the summer and fall of 2002, was Mike Burleson supplying you with any drugs?
Beginning of the summer, yes. End of the summer, it was Adam Johnson.
Solely Adam Johnson?
Yes, I got some pot off Derek Branham once or twice.
You indicated to Mr. Alden that you knew Tabitha Raines was willing to have a three-way with Elizabeth Balser and Michael Raines.
Yes.
Or a threesome, is that correct?
Yes.
When did you know this, that Tabitha was wanting to have a threesome?
Summertime, I'm sure. I'm not positive. It was Amanda that told me, I think.
Summer of 2002?
Yes. When Amanda and Tabby were hanging out a lot.
Did you overhear Tabitha talking to Amanda about it?
Yes.
So Tabitha she didn't tell you that directly?
Right. She told Amanda direct. They talked about all that stuff directly, and I'd just be sitting there. I'd play on the computer or do something while they were in the same room talking. Sometimes I'd be in on the conversations, but I've heard Tabitha say it before.
Okay. Did you hear Elizabeth Balser did she ever say that to you?
No, she didn't.
Did she ever indicate to you that she wanted to hook up or be with Tabitha sexually?
I heard her and Tabitha talking about that one time I was over at her house.
What'd you hear?
That because Tabitha was asking Elizabeth about the three-way, and she said she doesn't want to do that. She'd rather it just be them two.
Who said that?
Elizabeth. She'd rather be Tabitha and Elizabeth, not Tabitha, Elizabeth, Mike.
So Elizabeth was interested or indicated she was interested in being with Tabitha sexually?
Yes.
But she would prefer that it just be with Tabitha.
Right.
And exclude Michael.
Correct.
You indicated to Mr. Alden that you and Amanda had went to Tabitha Raines' apartment on one occasion when Elizabeth Balser and Lindsay Groves were there.
Yes.
And when was that?
That was in the summertime.
Summer of
2002, beginning of the summer.
Now, is this the same occasion where Elizabeth Balser offered to go get some pot for you?
Yes.
Had you stopped over at Tabitha's apartment for the express purpose of seeing if anyone had drugs or...
I don't remember exactly why I stopped there.
That would have just came up?
Yes.
You didn't want to give your money to Elizabeth Balser for her to go get you pot?
Right.
Why not?
I quit doing that after I got ripped off a few times.
Who ripped you off?
I've been ripped off by Jason Marie before, and I don't remember who else ripped me off. I think Jared Boyd did once. This is all through high school and after high school. I learned my lesson not to do that.
Why were you concerned that Elizabeth would rip you off?
Yes, I didn't give anybody my money to get me drugs anymore.
You indicated to Mr. Alden that you and Amanda had Tabitha had went to Elizabeth's apartment. Is that correct?
Yes.
You described an apartment over on Sweetland Avenue, I believe.
Yes, an upstairs apartment.
And why'd you go over to Elizabeth's apartment with Tabitha and Amanda?
To get a joint.
You testified to going on roadies with Elizabeth Balser.
Yeah.
What's a roadie?
Go out in the country and drive around and smoke pot.
You also testified that you'd been around, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, with Elizabeth and Tabitha in the late summer of 2002, 2 or 3, maybe 4 times. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
And what were those occasions, or what?
See, we were boredom. Stop by Tabitha's house and hang out with them, or pick up Tabitha maybe when Amanda's working one day and my mom has my son, and we go hang out with people.
And you recall 2, 3, 4 occasions where that involved Elizabeth Balser?
Yes.
Kyle, you indicated in this deposition that you had been at Tabitha's apartment. This was on Wednesday, October the 2nd. You had made arrangements to buy some cocaine from Adam Johnson. Is that correct?
Yes.
And those arrangements involved you going to Bargain Bob's in Atlanta, Indiana.
Correct.
Your plan was to meet Adam Johnson there.
Right.
You get there. Adam Johnson's not there.
Right. And I knew he lived in Atlanta, and I went driving around there and didn't see him. So I went inside Bargain Bob's, used my calling card, and called his cell phone.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, this calling card. How does that work?
It's like a prepaid calling card you buy at a gas station, $10 phone card.
And you have a PIN number or something like that?
Yes.
Plug that in?
It's an 800 number. You dial that and PIN number, then phone number.
You indicated, Kyle, that you purchased cocaine from Johnson. Then you rode around in the country.
Yes.
And you testified that you broke the cocaine up on your gas tank.
Yes.
I'm curious as to how that works. How would you do that?
I take my razor blade. I always had one in my wallet, and take the cocaine out of the bag and just make sure there wasn't any big chunks in there. And then I'd snort it real quick.
On a surface like a motorcycle gas tank, wouldn't you be concerned about losing some of your cocaine?
I would block the wind with my arms when I was doing it, or my hands, and my gas tank was pretty flat on the top of it, so it made it sort of easy. I've done it a number of times, so.
You drove around the country and you snorted all this cocaine.
Yes.
That's your testimony.
Yes.
And then you come back into town, and you've already testified to coming back to town around certain times, seeing Tabitha and Elizabeth Balser at certain times. Again, always prefacing your times with around, about, I think.
Yes.
Why is that?
How light it was outside, just my biological clock of what time I would guess it is.
So again, you weren't sure of the times.
Right.
You're just kind of guessing.
Right.
Eventually you see Elizabeth Balser.
Yes.
Uptown. You honk your horn on your sickle. You're behind her, and she pulls over.
Yes.
Do you get off your sickle?
I just pull up beside her.
And tell us again what you talked about.
I told her that Tabitha was looking for her, and she told me she was pretty much doing the same thing because Tabby ripped her off some coke. And she offered me an 8-ball to get her to meet us out in the park. And
let me ask you this. Were you curious about the circumstances of Elizabeth's allegation that Tabitha stole cocaine from her?
A little bit, yes. The details were really not much of my business, I thought, and I could see someone doing that if they had a lot of coke. If they left it laying around or something, it'd be easy to steal.
Did you ask Elizabeth if that's what happened? That they were together and Elizabeth wasn't watching? Mr. Alden, objection, Your Honor, leading. You can answer that question. Mr. Alden, I'll object for the record as leading.
Okay.
You can answer the question.
Did I ask her if that's what she did?
Did you ask her, Elizabeth, about how it came about that Tabitha was able to steal cocaine from her?
I didn't ask her the details, no.
Because?
I didn't feel it was much my business.
Now later on, after that, you run into Tabitha.
Yes.
Where do you see Tabitha?
On the sidewalk in front of Village Pantry.
Who's she with?
She's by herself.
What was she doing?
She was walking through town.
She wasn't just hanging out?
No, she was walking towards the courthouse.
You stop and talk to her?
Yes.
And what'd you tell her?
I told her I got a hold of Liz and for her to meet us in the park here in a little bit. And she said, all right. I don't remember if we talked any detail, little statements or not. I don't know what all we talked about. I remember talking to her about that, and I don't remember everything else I talked to her about. We talked for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Do you recall just stating, meet us in a little bit?
I don't remember whether it was a little bit or a half hour, or I don't remember the exact words that I said, no.
You indicated to Mr. Alden that, well, let me tell you what his specific question was, and strike that because it's not a specific question. I'd be paraphrasing Mr. Alden's question, but he asked you if you'd ever seen Drew Bush before. This is on page 160 of your deposition, and your answer was, not to my recollection. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And then on page 165, paraphrasing again, line 20, Mr. Alden says, you didn't know him, referring to Drew Bush, from Adam, and your answer on line 22 of page 165 was no. Now on page 160, you said you answered his question whether or not you knew him by saying, not to my recollection.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Prior to October 2nd, because I didn't remember ever going over to his house to buy drugs off of him like he mentioned.
When you say like he mentioned, you've read a statement that he's given.
Yes. And I believed he mentioned it too. I don't know for a fact. I believe he did.
So when you say, I don't remember that, you're referring to Drew Bush's statement that he would have sold you.
Correct.
Drugs.
Correct.
You've been involved in taking drugs for a long time. Is that correct?
Yes.
You've had a serious drug habit.
Yes.
Over the years.
Yes.
Is there any chance that you could, in that kind of state or world that you were involved in, have purchased drugs from somebody and not remembered it?
It's possible, yes.
So is it a possibility that you could have met or bought drugs from him and just not remembered it?
It's a possibility, yes.
Well, of course it is. So it'd be fair to say that you can't remember that, but it could have happened.
Right.
Kyle, today you've indicated that you heard 2 or 3 shots. Is that correct?
Yes.
but you're not sure.
Right.
Tell me what you saw after the shots were fired.
Tabitha was laying on her back. Drew Bush and John looked shocked. There, right for a second, there. They were both standing there in disbelief. Looked like, and Liz was standing over her with the gun.
Did you look at Tabitha Raines?
Right after it happened? Yes.
And he said no earlier.
Yep.
What did you see?
Her laying on her back.
Did you look at her face or her head?
Right away, no, I didn't.
Did you ever?
Yes.
What'd you see?
I saw she was shot.
Where?
In the head. In the forehead.
When did you first see that?
Probably after Liz took off after Drew.
So you're saying that when she took off, then you were focused on
I was. Yes.
Tabitha?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Sort of amazed what happened. Shocked what happened.
Did you see any other wounds on Tabitha Raines?
No. Not No, I didn't.
So you heard 2 or 3 shots. You only saw 1 wound.
Right.
I apologize because you probably already answered this, but I want to go over it again a little bit. There's this decision to carry the body somewhere.
Yes.
Was there any kind of discussion or debate about where to go with the body?
To more of a secluded area away from people is where we were going. And those trees over there along the creek bed, you wouldn't think people would see.
Well, but tell me about the discussion regarding that, how you made that decision.
Liz told us we were going to go over there, up the creek, find a place to put the body.
Now, in terms of being secluded and staying away from people, is that the same reason you took the path that you took?
Yes.
To get the body over to that point?
Instead of going through the park, yes.
You indicated today, Kyle, that there were no lights on the south side of the bridge. I believe this was an answer to one of Mr. Roberts' questions. I'd like for you to clarify that. Are you indicating that there were no lights at all on the south side of the bridge, which would mean the whole park?
No.
You're just saying directly adjacent to the...
Where we're at.
It was dark there.
Right. There was lights going around the park along the driveway or whatever it's called, the road.
So when you answered there were no lights, you were referring to that area immediately adjacent or in the vicinity of the wooden bridge.
Right.
You indicated to Mr. Roberts that the car, meaning Elizabeth Balser's car, that was driven into the park was facing straight ahead. Do you recall answering his question to that effect, that the car was facing straight ahead?
I think so. I don't know for sure what.
Well, let me ask a better question.
According to the picture.
Which direction was the car facing when it was parked over by the shuffleboard courts?
East.
Due directly east?
Might have been southeast a little bit.
So it was facing towards the pavilion in general?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
You've indicated today. Now, wait a minute. If it was kind of pointing southeast, it was pointed more towards the baseball fields in the hospital, not the pavilion.
Interesting.
Okay. You've indicated today, Kyle, that as you and Elizabeth and John were carrying Tabitha Raines' body, that Elizabeth Balser's back was to you.
Yes.
And was her back to you the entire...
Not while...
time that you walked from the point where she was shot to where she was placed in the creek?
Pretty much, yes. When we lit up a cigarette, it wasn't. When we got a better grip, she turned around. It was pretty much.
How did you decide to stop and get a better grip?
Liz says she needed to because her hands were slipping.
And what did you do at that point?
We stopped and she set it down and put her arms under there more.
These shoes or sandals, thongs,
Uh-huh.
that Tabitha had on her feet when she was shot, she falls down.
Yeah.
Were those sandals still on?
When I picked up her leg, they were, yes.
And you testified that you were holding her left leg.
Yes.
Were you on the way from the point where she was shot to the place where she was placed in the creek? Were you closest to the creek or closest to the roadway in the park?
To the creek.
And John Yates was on the other leg closest to the roadway.
Yes.
At any point in time, did those thongs, flip-flops, come off of her feet?
Not the one. I don't think so, no. Till after when we set the body down, we had to make sure it didn't fall off. Yeah. But it didn't fall off while we were carrying her. No.
So there was some effort to make sure they stayed on?
Yes.
By who?
I did on the one leg I had. I'm guessing John had the same problem.
Was there any discussion in that regard?
I didn't say nothing about it.
You just made a concerted effort to keep the flip-flop on the leg or on the foot that you were carrying?
Correct.
You stated after you left the park that you went to either Gas America, Clark, or perhaps another gas station to get a pack of smokes.
Yes.
You're not sure which one.
No, I'm not.
Do you remember whether you went inside?
I think so, but I don't. If I went to Gas America, I didn't. I know if I went to Clark or Babalu's, I went inside because I never went inside Gas America.
Why not?
Because they have that drive-through.
So if you went through Gas America, you would have went through the drive-through.
Correct.
They would serve you on a sickle.
Yes.
Motorcycle. That's been some testimony today about these three gals coming out to your house sometime after the murder.
Yes.
You've indicated that those three people were Emily Brown, Amber Heaton, and Tiffany Boatwright.
Correct.
And I think you've indicated that you believe it was either Thursday the 3rd or Friday the 4th that they came over.
Correct.
And it was around midnight.
Right.
And what, again, were you thinking when you hear people banging on your door at midnight?
I wonder why they're there so late without calling, because all my friends would call before they'd come over if they came late.
What were you doing at that time?
Do
you recall?
I don't remember exactly what I was doing. Probably getting ready to go to bed. That's what I would think I was doing, because I usually worked Friday. At that time, Friday mornings.
Was the baby in bed?
Yes.
Do you have any pets?
We had cats.
No dogs?
No.
And one of the girls indicated that they needed to use the restroom.
Correct.
And it's your understanding that's why they were allowed in?
Yes.
How old was Skylar on October the 3rd of 2004?
7 months. Well, 6 months.
Mr. Alden, 2003, isn't it? Mr. Rich, 2003. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Mr. Alden, 2002.
2002?
Mr. Rich, 2002. So on October the 3rd, 2002, Skylar was 7 months.
Well, yes. Well, a little under 7.
Thereabouts?
Yeah.
Was he walking yet?
No.
Crawling?
Yes. His birthday is March 19th.
You've been asked a number of times, Kyle, to state exactly what you said and what someone else said during some of these events. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Is there any way for you to remember exactly?
Not exact words, no.
2 years after the fact or thereabout?
No.
And today is in this deposition, you've tried to the best of your ability to remember things that were said and be truthful about those things.
Yes.
I think you indicated that you don't recall fishing, bait fishing, in that area where Tabitha Raines' body was thrown into the creek.
Right.
And I think it was your testimony that it's possible you could have been fishing there.
Correct.
And it could have been within 30 or 60 days of this event?
Yes.
And you would say that because of reading Mike Lip's deposition, is that correct?
Yes. And I knew I went fishing with him 30 to 60 days prior to this event. I just don't recall going to the park to do it.
In previous statements you've given, Kyle, you've told police, I believe, that when Elizabeth started pulling Tabitha Raines' clothes off, your initial thought was she was going to do something perverted.
Yeah.
And that's just what you were thinking.
Yes.
I think you also indicated in these previous statements that you said either, what the hell are you doing? Or what are you doing that for?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, it is.
And you haven't said anything about that today. Why not?
I didn't think of it till you just mentioned it. It didn't come to my memory right away.
So is it true that you did something to Elizabeth Balser about why, or is it true that you did say something to Elizabeth Balser about why, or are you?
I said something about, I don't remember what the words.
Do you remember what she said in response?
She was looking for the Coke.
Do you recall telling the police at any point in time that Elizabeth Balser said, well, you don't want to get caught, do you?
I might have. I don't remember exactly saying that. No, but I remember the situation. I don't remember exact words. I can't answer that.
You've described the manner in which Elizabeth Balser left the park after you and John and Elizabeth had ran from the point where the body was thrown in the creek.
Yes.
You used the word speeding, hurrying. You indicated you couldn't remember gravel being thrown when you pulled out of this gravel lot.
Right?
What do you mean by speeding, hurrying?
We got out as quick as possible, pretty much.
So it was your sense she was driving.
Fast.
Faster than normal?
Right.
Because you... Go ahead, that's you.
Because usually when you go through the park, you slow down for speed bumps and cruise around it. And we pretty much sped out of the park.
You indicated today that Elizabeth Balser wiped the gun off and gave it to you.
Yes.
When did she wipe the gun off?
When she was handing it to me at the high school parking lot.
Is it your testimony then that she stopped and the car in the parking lot?
Yes.
And prior to handing the gun to you, she wiped it down?
Yes.
Describe how she wiped it down.
With Tabitha's clothing, just swiped it real quick to try to get her fingerprints off and like to wipe the handle in that area.
You say anything to her when she was doing that?
No, because I pretty much knew what she was doing.
So she didn't say anything to you?
No.
There's been a lot of discussion being placed in Elizabeth Balser's waistband.
Uh-huh.
That you saw her place it there.
Yes.
Did you see the gun? Did you see Elizabeth Balser's skin on her waist?
I didn't look that close.
Well, what exactly did you see when you say that you saw her place that gun in her waistband?
I saw her put it in her waistband like this, inside, or on the outside of her shirt.
And the record should reflect that the witness is indicating a movement right in front.
Yes.
In her crotch area or at her crotch area?
Yes. Like right under.
Her stomach?
Her belly button area, probably. I don't know what area that'd be called. Yeah, her stomach area, lower abdomen.
And did you observe her lift her shirt up to get it in there?
I don't remember if she lifted it up or just used the gun to lift it up, or she used her other hand, or how she exactly put it in her waistband. I don't remember. I just remember her putting it in there. Whether she lifted up her shirt with other hand, I don't know. I don't think so.
Why did Elizabeth Balser tell you to burn Tabitha's clothes in her fireplace?
Because she knew I had a fireplace.
How'd she know that?
I have a chimney going off my house That's the only way I could guess she'd know. I always have firewood on my front porch. I'm guessing anybody who knew me would know I have a fireplace.
Why would they know that? Just because you had a chimney?
Just because of my house, the way my house is. That's what I guess.
You testified that you were in the creek.
Yes.
You were in the creek with John Yates and Elizabeth Balser.
Correct.
All three of you put Tabitha Raines' body in the creek.
Correct.
So your clothes were wet.
Yes.
You didn't want Amanda to see that your clothes were wet.
Right.
Why?
I didn't want to have to explain why they were wet.
But you've testified that you went into the house that way.
Say that again. Read that line again.
But you've testified that you went in the house anyway.
Yes.
Why did you make that decision?
Because I had to change them anyway, so I figured I'd go right in and see if I could get in there without her noticing.
So you were just taking a chance.
Yes.
What were you going to do if she saw you?
I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead at the time. I was just trying to sneak in and change and sneak out and put my bike up and then come back.
You've testified that your shoes were wet.
Yes.
Weren't they leaving? I guess I'm picturing wet shoes in a house leaving a wet mark or a spot or a place with each step that you took.
I don't recall them doing that because they were wet, but when I went in the creek, but they had time, about 20 minutes there, and then a ride out there on my bike to drip is what I guess. I don't remember seeing no wet spots with my steps.
When you told all these people, you've indicated to Mr. Alden today that you told all these people that you'd seen Tabitha.
Yes.
And Drake at the village pantry around 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Is that the truth?
No. I saw them at her house.
Had you seen other than that night at, I'm sorry, whatever time you've indicated that you saw Tabitha in front of the village pantry, had you seen her at the village pantry any time other than that?
I've seen her there before, yes.
My fault. Let me rephrase that. That night, October the 2nd.
No, I didn't see her other than that one time.
That day you hadn't seen her at the village pantry?
I don't remember seeing her up there, no.
Had you been to the village pantry that day?
I think so. I went there.
Did you go inside?
I think so.
When?
Right after I left Dan's house so I could get something to drink.
What time would have that been?
Around 4 maybe, I'm guessing. I don't know. I got to his house around 3:30, so I'm guessing around 4:15.
You believe you went to village pantry?
I believe so. I don't know for a fact. I believe I did.
Why don't you know for a fact? Is that someplace you went a lot?
Yeah.
To get soda?
Yes.
Or smokes?
Yes. I didn't get cigarettes there. I'd get pop there or a donut or something.
Fountain drink?
I'd buy the 20-ounce bottle because they close up on my motorcycle.
When your attorney told Ms. Duran told you not to talk to anyone about this case.
Uh-huh.
And you've testified about that today.
Yes.
In your mind, who do you think she was advising you not to talk to?
Well, before I got arrested, the police, and then after I got arrested, I took it anybody in the jail or anybody on the phone.
So initially, when she told you not to talk to anyone, you meant that to be the police?
Yes.
You testified today about leaving out details in your statement, specifically about the gun.
Yes.
From statement number 1 and statement number 2, and then also John Yates' involvement in putting the body in the creek.
Correct.
The first statement, you said that he didn't. Second statement, you said that he did.
Right.
You've indicated today that you lied about that because you didn't want him to get in any further trouble.
Correct.
What was your motivation when you gave that first statement to try to protect John Yates to any extent?
I knew my wife was friends with him from high school, and I've just known him since he moved to Tipton. I just didn't feel he needed to get in any more trouble than me. That's the way I felt about it.
And you've indicated that you didn't have the same motivation for Elizabeth Balser.
Correct.
Why?
Because she shot her.
Because you saw her shoot her in the head and kill her?
Yes.
Tabitha Raines.
Yes.
Clear this one up for me and all of us in regard to this trip to Aaron Sharp's.
Yes.
He lived there with Jennifer Bays.
Yes.
And Derek Branham.
Yes.
You remember being at that apartment with your wife, Amanda.
Yes.
But you do not believe Amanda ever went inside the apartment. Is that what you testified to today?
Yes,
You said something about Amanda standing behind you.
Right. I went there twice that I can remember. One time I went inside by myself, and then the next time she opened the door and I stepped inside, and Amanda always stood like right behind me. Always hit her face for some reason, like the bottom part of her face, and stood right behind me while I asked where Derek was and when he'd be home or whatever I asked about.
How long do you think, so you're testifying in this deposition, that you were down there with Amanda that you recall twice?
Yes.
What's the longest you were there with her on either of those two occasions?
20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Did you go in and sit down?
No, stand by the door.
What'd you do for 15 or 20 minutes then?
Stand by the door and ask when Derek was going to be home and wait a few minutes to see if he was going to show up anytime soon.
Well, what would you do that doesn't take 15 or 20 minutes?
Oh, we'd stand there. Me and Amanda would talk. We didn't really talk to them because they were waiting for Derek.
Where at?
Right inside, right by the door.
But you didn't sit down?
I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember ever sitting down when I was over there.
You or her?
Right.
You've testified today about as the body was carried that Tabitha Raines' breasts were exposed. Is that correct?
Correct. It was. That was when we started carrying her down the creek bank. It wasn't the whole way from the footbridge all the way over to there. It was from there down to the creek.
And from the bank down to the creek?
Uh-huh.
Was Tabitha Raines' body facing up or facing down?
Facing up.
And Elizabeth Balser's going first down the bank?
Yes. Yes.
So Tabitha Raines' body would be tilted down towards the creek?
Correct.
Were her breasts exposed because the sweatshirt came up towards her neck and face, or were they exposed through some opening in the sweatshirt?
I think it's some opening in the sweatshirt.
Why do you think that?
Because that's what kind of sweatshirt I remember her having on. That's just what I remember. I'm not 100% positive about it. But that's what I remember, if I remember right.
Did anybody say anything about that?
No.
You testified today about going to see Brooke Mendenhall in the Howard County Jail.
Yes.
When was that?
When she was still in there for the offense we both got arrested for.
So that's in 2000?
98.
1998.
End of 98, beginning of 99.
How close are you and Don Kokendorfer?
Well, there for a while I thought we were pretty close.
When?
Right when he got out of jail.
Which was when?
probably a year prior to my arrest. For about 5-6 months, we were real close. I was helping him out, get on his feet and everything. And then he met with Jennifer, and we just didn't talk as much. But I still considered him a friend.
So his relationship with Jennifer would have caused your friendship with him to?
I didn't like the way she was towards him.
So that caused you not to hang out with him as much?
Yes.
You indicated to Mr. Roberts that you have some idea what happened to Tabitha's personal effects. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you testified that you thought perhaps your mom and another employee of Cheryl's had thrown these clothes away.
Yes, thrown the whole box away, not just the clothes.
What gives you that idea?
Because it wasn't there anymore. That's when we went to go look for it with Tony Frawley and the police. It wasn't there. So that's the only thing I could figure happened to it.
Certainly there was no discussion between you and your mother or an employee of Cheryl's indicating that they had thrown those things away.
When we were out there looking for it, my mom said it was possible.
And why did she think it was possible that she threw it away?
Because she said she threw a whole bunch of stuff away out there.
Why?
Because it was just taking up space. She didn't feel like she needed it.
Was she cleaning for a specific reason or throwing things away for a specific purpose?
Clean out the shed, make it more spacious for her car and their cars in the wintertime and all of her restaurant stuff.
You indicated to Mr. Roberts that you and you've indicated this in all of your other statements, that Elizabeth Balser was beating Tabitha Raines up.
Uh-huh.
That Andrew Bush moved towards Tabitha Raines as if to intervene.
Yes.
To come to her aid. Is that correct? Is that a correct statement?
Yes, it is.
That you held him back or stopped him from going in closer?
Yes.
And at what point in that whole process did Elizabeth Balser wheel on Andrew Bush and point a gun at him?
Almost right after we grabbed hold of him.
So was it almost simultaneous with you grabbing that Elizabeth Balser turned and pointed the gun at Andrew Bush?
Yes.
And at that point, Andrew Bush stopped moving towards Tabitha Raines, correct?
Correct.
Because the gun was pointed at him.
Yes.
Mr. Rich, that's all. Mr. Alden, do you have any...
Okay, we're going to have to stop for tonight.
Okay.
I know we have a little bit to go, but...
Yeah, we only got 3 pages.
Wait a minute, there's only 3?
Yeah.
Well, there's 4 on each page.
Right. The 3 complete pages is what I'm saying.
All right, which one did we stop at?
Well, 257.
Okay. Let's do the last 3 pages tomorrow with
Okay.
the 4 pages on each.
Okay.
Just because I have to get something to eat and then head to bed soon.
Mhm.
All right. I thought it was way across the park and only heard it.
I thought he was way across the park and only heard it.
Oh, no, he was right next to him. Yeah, I wouldn't have touched it. That's what doesn't make sense as to why Elizabeth would shoot her.
Yeah, especially when it was very little cocaine, supposedly.
Yeah, and you make a great point. If Elizabeth shot her, why would these guys go to extreme to hide the body? So.
Because they were supposedly a gun was pointed at him and they were told to do it or else they'd end up like her. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay, so tomorrow we'll come back at 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll finish the last 3 pages. Should take us about half an hour.
If that. I don't even think 10, 15 minutes.
All right, you talk to them. Let me go outside, have a cigarette, and then we'll come back and read them.
Well, it's up to you. If you want to go to bed, go to bed.
Well, if you think it's only going to take...
What else are you planning on doing tomorrow night?
I was planning on pre-recording some stuff tomorrow night.
Oh, okay. Well, we have that tape statement. Are you planning on reading that one?
Yeah. So we can finish this one and then go in the tape statement tomorrow.
Well, we're backtracking.
I know, but it's important people hear that one since we finally found it.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you how many pages it is. Looks like 52.
Okay. So we should be able to get through that one.
Yeah, it's
pretty short from what I remember. Short.
Yeah, like it's double spaced and
yeah.
So we could probably finish those 3 pages and then the 52-page one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we'll be done with Kyle.
Right. Then we'll be done with Kyle and we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Tomorrow we'll finish this deposition and statement 2. And then we'll be done with Kyle and we can move on to the next individual.
And that's going to be...
I haven't decided yet. But I'm almost thinking it should be Amanda.
Yeah, me too.
I'm thinking it should be Amanda. So.
Yeah. So it's fresh.
I
think there's only 2. There's only 2 of hers, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of little statements here and there from her. But we'll get to that when we get to those.
I just need to make sure I got them all printed.
Okay.
I think I do, but I just need to make sure.
All right. We will see you tomorrow night at 7 to finish up Kyle Neff.
8 o'clock our time.
8 o'clock.
8 Eastern.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hit the like, share, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.